good morning. So, after posting my video last night, which I made yesterday morning, about, in this case, YNAB, and something I was really excited about, and I was like, wow, this is a really cool thing, and it really changed, how I do this, this one thing, this tracking my money, and spending my money, and whatnot. I thought, what other content would I put on the internet that is truly original? It's me. It's not just me responding, like duetting or something like that. It's truly me just talking out loud, telling people what I think, and people can watch it or not. I really guess I don't care. And because I was doing it in the drive when I'm driving, I thought we could just call it Chris's Drives or something like that. So I will probably end up at least making a playlist, possibly a whole channel, just dedicated to this content. And I can't imagine I will ever be big in that field, which is fine. I'm cool with that. I'm not sure anybody will watch this. In fact, I'm curious how quickly family and friends find this channel. So yesterday was the 13th of December, 2023. Today's the 14th of December, 2023. And when people start to tell me, hey, Chris, hey, buddy, hey, son, saw your content, then I'll know what that lag time is. But that being said, I thought, well, what would I talk about? If I had a platform to talk, I guess technically, I've always had YouTube, and honestly, I'm a techie. I do host my own website. I could build my own platform. In fact, I have built platforms for this before. So, what if I did my own stuff? And I'm not just running and hosting and building platforms for other people's views. Well, what are my views? I gave it some thought this morning in the shower, and I was like, why would somebody tune in to me? Well, I'll tell you a little bit about me, and maybe then what this playlist channel, I don't know what this will end up being, what it might all be about. I am born and raised in Aurora, Colorado. It's a suburb of Denver. So I live in a place that's honestly not super dense population-wise. This is very much a suburb. Oh, this thing screams suburb. I grew up pretty damn poor. I grew up living in my grandma's basement, and then my mom got a mobile home. Or some people call them trailers, although strictly speaking, trailers go on to big trucks and get moved. Mobile homes, once they've been sitting for a few years, cannot move again. They settle, things bend, you can't do that. So, mobile home. And even then, that's the funny, because mobile home implies it can move, when it really can't. But I grew up that way. Grew up in North Aurora, and over time, as I've done better in my life, I've moved further south. I consider myself pretty liberal. Don't get me wrong, though. There's things with the... How would I put it? Because honestly, this is what will get me canceled right here, before the thing even gets going. I'm honestly not a big fan of everyone gets a gun. Just walk in, $500 cash, and you walk out with a gun. Not a fan of that. Here in Colorado, you can't do that anymore. It's a 3-day waiting period, if I remember correctly. That's now mandated just across the board. Private sale, store sale, everything, doesn't matter. I'm actually not super familiar with all the gun laws because I'm not a gun owner. I'm not comfortable being a gun owner. I've had situations where family members have been in mental health situations. I'm not comfortable having a gun in the house. There, I said it. That being said, an unarmed populace is easier to control. And the police is a very violent arm of the government. So is the military. And I think here in the U.S., that line gets really blurred. I mean, police do not need MRAP vehicles. If you need that, you know what you're doing? You're actually calling in your state National Guard. That's what you actually do then. And you let them have those vehicles. Aurora doesn't need an MRAP. Okay? And we've had violent shootings, don't get me wrong. But we don't need an MRAP here. And to me, that erodes trust that the police is supposed to have from the populace. So I'm not a big fan of that. I do not like people breaking the law. If you have a problem with the law, change the law. And that means that if you're going to go 40 miles an hour down a residential street, you should get a freaking large fine. And honestly, your license probably should get canceled, banned for a year. And if you're still making car payments, well, sucks to be you, because you're still going to be making those car payments because you just screwed up your life for the next year because you can't drive. And living in a suburb, you need a car because you can't get around very effectively without one. I know I didn't get a car until I was 22. I didn't have a driver's license until I was 22. Maybe 21. Maybe 21. Because I feel like... No, I guess it was 22. I rode RTD. Everywhere. This is, let's say I'm in my mid-40s. So, this is back when dinosaurs were still roaming down Colfax. I'm that old. But there was no Uber. And honestly, calling a taxi sucked. I mean, you had cell phones, barely. But you had cell phones back then. And I did use the taxi a few times, but they take forever to get there. They were not cheap. Uber is huge, in efficiency compared to those guys. I have ADHD, which means that sometimes I will go off on tangents that to anyone else are going to look completely unconnected. Why? Because my brain's actually been going a million miles a minute. And to me, I just made a whole bunch of jumps. You just didn't see the jumps. You just see that I'm 5 tracks over. You didn't see the 4 tracks that were in between. But in my head, they're absolutely there in some way, shape, or form. That ADHD has actually served me really well in life, but it also definitely screwed up my life. At 1 year of college, I call myself uneducated. But here's the thing. I'm a co-founder of a tech company. I'm a CTO. I code, maintain, build, architect pretty decently complex solutions. I've managed Postgres, MySQL, SQL Server, Cassandra, Cockroach. I've never managed Oracle, thank God. I've had to use Oracle back in the day, but I've never had to manage it. I'm very happy about that. I've had to manage VMware. What do I run at home? I run a little server with, I was using Proxmox for a while. That was kind of fun to play with, clustering. I forget what I'm on right now. But I've used Windows, Mac, Linux, FreeBSD. I've never really gotten into electronics too much. I wish I had. I wish I'd had that opportunity. My oldest, who's going off to college, is actually looking at getting into that. I think that's pretty darn exciting because honestly, electronic circuits and how those work is sort of a missing piece of my understanding of how my code actually does something in the real world. I'm very abstract in that respect. So I wish I could get more into that. I also wish I could get into civil engineering, which these days I am fascinated by. And if I could go back to college, it'd be really tempting to at least take some of those classes. I don't know if that I'd get the degree because in my mid-40s, I wouldn't be able to graduate until I'm basically like 50, about 51 right now. Who's going to want to hire a 51-year-old civil engineer that has no experience, that is a noob? So, but I think I'd be interested in taking the classes, learning the info, and then maybe using that to say, okay, cool, like how can we improve things? What do I see where I'm like, we didn't do very well there. What can we do to improve? What can we do better next time? And then working with those people at the city, state, county, whatever, to say, okay, cool. Like, what can we do to improve this? And for that matter, what is improvement? And help that bring me back to my original track. I'd like to think that this content really should be about either things that are better than they used to be, aka we have improved, and let's remind ourselves of that, because it's really, really easy to forget that, to focus so much on the negatives. Oh, we've got people crossing the border that I don't like, or we're spending money to foreign countries, or why do we have to be the world's police, or why are people jackasses and want to control other people, or why are we trying to make it more difficult to exercise our rights and not easier? And, there's all of these things that everybody can use to point out a negative, to push their point of view. And I think their point of views are fine. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, or to put it in a little bit different way, everyone's entitled to their own point of view. That's fine. But can we focus on positives, or can we focus on ways that move it forward? And so I think the other half then of this content I think I want to create is, what are things that we could do better and ways that they could be better? Not just whining about these stupid drivers that, these car drivers that almost hit me on my bike, because they don't know better, and they're yelling at me and I'm yelling at them. Okay, cool. Well, how do we make it better? What do we think the real problem is? And then, what's one or two solutions that might resolve that? I mean, I'm stuck in highway traffic right here, okay? And I see an emergency vehicle up ahead, finally. So here in Colorado, if it's possible, you are legally required to move one lane over. It's an extremely good idea. And I still see people who will just whiz right by a cop who's pulled over on the side. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you people, you should get a ticket. Okay, well, there's that. And yeah, if there's an extra cop there that was just doing nothing else, maybe they would zoom out and be like, nope, you get a ticket because you broke the law. Okay, that's fine. That's completely legal. But what's the real problem? Is the problem that driver doesn't care about emergency vehicles? Is it that person doesn't know about the law, or doesn't think that that's unsafe? Maybe that person sees that the cop is already on the side of the road, and so from their perspective, oh, I don't need to get over. It's not like I'm going to hit somebody coming out of the car, which is a huge assumption. Maybe it's the person's on their phone recording content. I will say, you watch my videos. I look up all the time. So, there's that. I also am driving in my Tesla. Can't tell from the giant glass roof. I own a Tesla. Really cool thing about the Tesla, it actually is monitoring, and it'll warn me if I'm getting too close to somebody, or I might hit somebody if I don't start slowing down soon. Sometimes it's a little too aggressive around that, but I kind of like that, because that actually helps me make sure I don't get hit. I want to see if I can get over. In fact, darn it, the window is just not quite perfect. The problem is I'm getting kind of close to that emergency vehicle, and I'd really like to get over. I do love that my Tesla has the little side cameras. So when I'm doing a turn, yeah, I look out the window, but I'm also looking at the screen. I think it's freaking awesome. I think all cars should start coming with that. Mind you, my Tesla's not perfect by any means, and you still have to be a good driver. I've been driving for 25 years approximately. Not quite. Close. I should look up, you know what, I should have a 25-year driving anniversary, which sounds silly, but nonetheless. But, focus on that kind of content. What's a problem? What's a problem we solved? yay, cool, this is better. Like the YNAB thing. You know, wine, it is different for me. And I am more aware of where I am. And I think I'm going to look back in a couple of years and go, wow, I really should have done that so much earlier. Yeah, and maybe if more people did things like that, then they'd have more money saved up. Maybe our economy wouldn't be quite so bad. Why? Because people would have more savings. Who knows, you know? And maybe other people will kind of copy some of the YNAB things. Sure, because in the end, when you look at all these apps, there's a lot of commonality, but there's also so much room for just being different and improving. Okay, cool. Competition is good in this respect, I think. But also, we could point out something that just isn't good. We could talk about how there's still a lot of SUVs/trucks. I mean, I count 1 right behind me and 3 in front of me in different lanes. All of which, if they hit me as a pedestrian, they'd hit me right here in the chest. I'd probably die. Whereas if my Tesla were to hit me, it's going to hit me in my thighs. Yeah, it's probably going to break my legs. But I don't have to die. On the other hand, my Tesla's heavy. So it's got a lot of inertia and a lot of mass. So when it does hit me, it's going to hurt. That's, compared to some little, Toyota Matrix that, feels like you're driving an aluminum tin can. I owned one for a while. Mind you, I kind of still wish I had that car. Actually, other than my first car, I wish I hadn't gotten rid of any of my cars. My first car was a demon. We called it the demon car. It kept having issues, battery died, all these other things. But every other car, my Toyota Matrix, my Ford Ranger, my Ford Flex, I was happy to get rid of it kind of because it was a gas guzzler. But at the same time, there's occasions when it's like, oh, it would be a little convenient. It is what it is. I love the Tesla. It's got so many cool features. Yeah, it's basically a giant iPad with an electric motor, a giant battery, and everything else about it is. It's a little cheap. Like, the interior is not bad. It's, not like Toyota Matrix level quality, but for paying, what, I think they come at $60,000 right now, and they're expensive enough. They don't qualify. They qualify until the end of this year for the feds. But they stopped qualifying, and then they changed the program so they would qualify for a little bit. But then the feds went, actually, you don't count. Actually, your cars are too expensive. So, no. You can't do that as of, January 1. Okay. But, yeah, normally they're pretty damn expensive. For something where I've had things just pop off on me. The sides of the seat will have just popped off, and getting the stupid plastic connectors doesn't seem to be as easy as I thought it would have been. Making sure you get the right size, the right strength, just mildly annoying. We could talk about that. We could talk about how politics divides us and focus on the things that we can do in common. I'm a huge supporter of the concept of the forward party, especially as we move towards ranked choice voting. Although ranked choice voting is not by any means perfect or even especially great, I do think it's a really nice improvement upon first past the post. Because with first past the post, everybody's like, I don't want the other guy to win. I have to vote for the guy who's less evil. The problem is that then everybody seems to think that you're either a Biden supporter or a Trump supporter. Well, guess what? I don't like either one. I don't like both of them. I do not like that both of them are freakishly old. I'm now finally at that age where the presidential candidates aren't twice my age, but still not that far off. I'm not young. I don't like that either of them are that old. I think I'd probably be in favor of an age cap. I mean, you have to be 35 to be president. Why not say, sorry, but you have to be under 65 during your entire term, or maybe just, when you're sworn in. I'd be okay with either one. But the thing is, that would also have to count then for that second term. You can't start your second term. You don't get a second term if you're going to be over 65. Because otherwise it needs to be 60. I don't like that either of them are really, really old. I don't like that Trump just feels like a sleazy kind of salesman. I'm sorry. He gives off serious vibes. How do they say it these days? He's sending I think that's probably not the millennial way of saying it, or Gen Z, actually. It's Gen Z language, but it's just, no, I do not like it. I'm not a fan of, I think I hold that person should be, professional is not the right word here, and gentlemanly is not quite the right word either, because I'd actually love to see a female president. That would feel weird to imply that, or a woman president, or however you want to identify that. But statesmanly, which again, gender terminology here, but a statesman. They should be reasonably well spoken. I'm not saying that if an emergency happened and they had to get right in front of a camera with a mic in their face that they're going to be perfect. God, no, I wouldn't expect that. But that they comport themselves with dignity. And I don't feel like I get that all the time out of them, or even a lot of the time from the stuff I see. Now, it's entirely possible, and in fact, I know that the stuff I see isn't everything. So, there's that. And to touch a little bit on the whole gender ideology and all that, I have no problem with people identifying as pretty much however they want. I have no problem with going, oh, you're she, her? Okay, cool. To the best of my absolute ability, I'm going to try to make sure I remember that. You're they, them? Okay, cool. In fact, I try to use that. I try to actively use that. Yesterday, I was talking about my spouse. I was using terms like spouse and they or them. And, I don't think I use the word partner, but why? Because I'm actually trying to make sure I'm using less gendered language myself. I have a hard time remembering unique pronouns. The exact same reason why I have problems remembering names. Because to me, that unique pronoun that you have, it's the name. Well, guess what? I have problems remembering people's names. So in my head, it's either sort of a he, she, he, him, she, her, they, them, or use their name. Because I can't remember more than that. And I'm sorry, I have a hard time remembering your name. You're going to come up with a custom pronoun. At that point, I'm just going to try to refer to you generically if I can't remember your name. Because now I got to remember your name and your pronoun. It's yeah, maybe I'm showing my age, but I have a hard time doing that. So there's that. That being said, if either of my kids came to me and said, I have two boys, and they said, Dad, I want to go by they, them, or I want, to go by the name Sarasana, and identify as a girl, a woman, whatever, or even just non-binary, I'd be like, okay, cool. Is there anything else you want? Do we need to go, do you need new outfits? Do you need to go to Kohl's or Target? Or do you need to Sorry, I'm about to park, and so is this other car. We're just watching each other like, where are you going and what are you doing? But I have no problem if my kids want to do that. And one is 14 and the other is 17. My kids kind of come to me when they were 8, 9, 10 years old. Hey, Dad, I want to go buy this. Okay, cool. That's no problem. Go for it. So I have no problem with any of that. I think that there's people that make that so much of their identity, they starve themselves of the fact that we are all very complex individuals with an entire history, years of history that have formed that identity. And it's really easy sometimes to forget that when you are focusing on a part of it that you suppressed. I'm a gay man. It's all over my Facebook profile, my Twitter profile, more than half the content on my TikTok is me duetting other queer creators. So there's that. I'm still married to my wife, and that blows some people's minds. We care for each other. We have kids. We have a family. You know, we have a lot of history. I've known her since 9th grade. We make it work. It works for us. I understand that when you come out, whether you're coming out gay or bi or lesbian or trans or asexual or intersex or any of those other components of the queer community, for a while you're going to be focusing on that so much. Why? Because you suppressed it for years, or you felt like you couldn't express it. And so it sort of springs out like a spring. Okay, cool, I get that. But eventually let it contract. Recognize, yeah, you might be asexual, but you play a trombone. You love jazz music, and you like to wear a sports jacket with pretty much everything you own. Okay, cool, well, what else about you? Are there other interests? What do you want to do in life? You know, what did you go to college for? If you've gone to college, if not, are you going to go to college? Or, you know, like, do you have a career? Do you do commercial plumbing? You know, are you a person who installs network cabling, you know, and sets up phone systems? Do you run lighting for concerts? Are you a professor? Do you build computer programs? Do you lead teams? Do you do process management? Like, there are so many things out there to do. Your identity can be much more than just, oh, I'm a gay man, or, you know, my parents are from France or whatever. Okay, cool. That's awesome. That's like a flavor. That's like when you're eating a sandwich and get a little bit of a pepper flake because it came off of somebody else's meal, and you're like, oh, wasn't expecting that. That doesn't mean it's not a burger. It's a burger with some pepper flakes on it by coincidence. Let's not even say by accident. Let's say by coincidence. Cool. That was something that was unexpected. That's unique. But the presence of the pepper flakes don't mean that you don't have cheese and onions and whatever else you've got on your burger. Like, there's so much more. So don't let it consume you. Anyways, I think I went off on a bit of a tangent. I probably will do that, honestly, on a lot of this content. It's very easy for me to do. And generally getting me to shut up is really hard. So I'm going to stop this now. I'm going to go in and get a coffee, get to work. I'll probably post this to my YouTube later, and I might just create a new channel, move my other video over there, and maybe in the future I'll start thinking of, like, hey, this is kind of what I want to talk about, and, you know, maybe get better at making content. This is a very vertical format because I use my cell phone. I've got a little mount here on my car that at some point maybe I'll show you guys. And just a little mag mount, and so it's great because it just holds my phone really solid, plugs in so it keeps it nice and charged, and so I can record while I'm driving in a way that's very safe, convenient for me, but admittedly it is very vertical, so if you're watching it on, like, say, a laptop or a computer, maybe not so convenient. Sorry, I can't. If I rotate the phone, it blocks my view of my speedometer on my screen, so I'm not going to do that. I will keep it in this format. I'm also told by people younger than me, which is annoying to be able to say, but by people younger than me, everything's in portrait mode now, Chris. Okay, nobody's using a landscape, and I'm like, I use landscape. In fact, the vast majority of video content, YouTube especially, that I consume, it's all horizontal. That's how human eyes are designed. I'm sorry, you're not going to change the biology of the humans that fast, but I don't know. I guess for now, I'm vertical until I figure out some way of doing it in some fashion where, maybe I get another mount that's like up on top or something, and then I can mount it above the screen, and then I can make horizontal content. Anyways, I'm gonna go get coffee. You guys have a great day.